Some of the most masculine men I've seen were men who weren't even tall, were men who didn't even have any muscles. They were men who were so unassuming, like you would never even think that this man is somebody that you should be worried about, but he was the most masculine man. Why? Because he knows how to stand in his masculine energy. The thing that you need in order to attract any man is polarity. In order to attract any man, the one thing you must start off with is polarity. So what does that mean? If you are in your masculine energy, ma'am, okay, I want you to think of polarity like magnets. All right, I want you to think of polarity like this, okay? The black end is a man. The red end is a woman. Okay? This is polarity. Do you see that? Black end is a man. Red end is a woman. See that? See how strong they're sticking? See how they stick? Now, if you have a woman who is in her masculine energy, she's not going to be able to attract a man that's in his masculine energy. Can you see what's happening right now? Can y'all see what's happening? Tell me what's happening to the magnets. What's happening to the magnets? Somebody tell me. I'm teaching y'all the secrets. They're repelling each other. They are repelling each other. Now, I need y'all to understand this because society has driven us as women to operate highly in our masculine energy. We have been told that if we act like a man, if we date like a man, and if we think like a man, then we can be as successful and get what a man gets. But we don't understand that our power has always been in our feminine energy. Not only that, ladies, because we have been operating so much in our masculine energy, it has driven men to operate highly in their feminine energy. Now, here's the thing about feminine energy. Every energy and frequency has a certain characteristic. Period. Point blank. That's simply nature. Up is up, down is down. Yellow is yellow, green is green. Okay? So when you have a positive end and a negative end, you understand that they're going to be different. Feminine energy is a receptive energy. Masculine energy is a doing, pursuing, pouring into, giving energy. So when you see a man that is looking for you to earn him, you automatically know that he is in his feminine energy. And if you are operating in your masculine energy, the only type of men you can attract and keep are feminine men. That's it. That's it. You will not, in your masculine energy, be able to attract a masculine man. If you've dealt with traumas, you grew up feeling unsafe, you grew up feeling like you had to protect and look out for yourself. If you're constantly getting hurt and disappointed with men have lied to you, they've betrayed you, they've cheated on you, then now you may have been slightly in your feminine energy, and then it drove you into your masculine energy because now you're in this protective energy. There's no way when you're dealing with traumas that you can safely sit in your feminine energy. You're going to automatically default to your masculine energy. And masculine energy, again, cannot attract masculine, healthy men who are going to pour into you. And I'm not talking about big, burly, muscular men. And that's the problem. So many women think that masculine has this look. You think masculine is the man who is combing his hair, he has all these muscles, he's big and strong looking. No. Some of the most masculine men I've seen were men who weren't even tall, were men who didn't even have any muscles. They were men who were so unassuming, like you would never even think that this man is somebody that you should be worried about, but he was the most masculine man. Why? Because he knows how to stand in his masculine energy. And I'm not talking, and that's the thing about alpha males, beta males, and catnip. The only men that claim to be an alpha man are men who are freaking delta. Okay? They're not even betas. They're deltas. And then the concept of an alpha came from pack wolves. And in the pack wolf, there's technically no such thing as an alpha. It doesn't exist. It's a concept that doesn't exist. So when you're talking about energy, keep it simple. You have your feminine and you have your masculine energy. And any man who's claiming to be an alpha is not really a masculine man. Because a man who's in his masculine energy and safely sits in his masculine energy, he doesn't have to beat on his chest and he doesn't have to tell everybody that he's an alpha. One thing about, you know what? The thing about masculine men is that they're not loud. They're not the kind of man that needs to prove their manness. They're not the kind of man that needs to tell a woman to submit. They're not the kind of man that's on the podcast saying the most stupidest things. They're not the kind of man that feels like a man is the prize. They're not the kind of man that will ask you out on a date and then expect you to pay half. They're not the kind of man that has a problem with paying the bills and taking care of his woman and encouraging his woman to follow her dreams. They're not the kind of man that has a problem with courting a woman, because these men, it's in their nature to pursue. Matter of fact, they prefer a woman that will allow them to pour into them. Let me tell you one of the most embarrassing things that happened to me on my dating experiment. Okay. I went out on a date with a man who was clearly in his masculine energy. And after the date, I pulled out my card and I was like, okay, so I pulled out my card to pay for half. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm paying for my half of the date." And he said, "I find that highly offensive." And I was like, "Ooh, you find it offensive?" He said, "What you're telling me by pulling out your card to pay your half is that you don't trust me as a man." That's what you're telling me. You're telling me that already from the beginning, you don't trust me as a man to be a man. And you don't trust that I will have you if we decide to move forward. And for that, I'm not interested. Like y'all, I'm telling y'all for real. Like he said that he isn't interested in moving forward with me because automatically I'm operating in the kind of energy that does not make space for him to be the kind of man that he wants to be for his woman. And I was like, you know what? Best lesson taught. Thank you so much. I appreciate the lesson. And from then on, I really started to study not only how to increase my feminine energy, but I started to study the art of seduction. She said, "Send him my number." Girl, that was like 20 years ago. And I really started to study the art of seduction. And I really started to study men. And I could tell if a man, just by the way he walked, I got so good that I can tell before a man opened his mouth, if he was operating in his masculine energy or if he was highly in his feminine energy. Now, the advice that I'm going to give you about the science of how to attract a man is based on attracting a masculine man. Now, here's the one thing that I want y'all to understand, okay? Before I even get started. There's a lot of experts out here who are loud and wrong, okay? And in all my Sagittarius energy, all I know how to do is just tell it like it is. They are loud and they are wrong, and they are loud and right, depending on what kind of man that you want to attract.